All right, Carlos. Today we're going to be going over determining if it's a function or a one-to-one function. I know right now you're not going over one-to-ones yet, but I just want to go over it because it kind of helped me distinguish between the two. Okay, because um, I don't know, I just think it's going to help overall. So in here we have three functions that we're going to be inputting numbers, and then we're going to check the output. Okay, and my definition, it's functions have one input and return another output. And it can be the same output. Like if you entered a 1, it can be output a 1. That's okay. It's just a coincidence. But the only thing that will not make it a function if it's the x gets repeated and returns a different output. Okay, so I'll go over an example. So the first equation is y equals x2. So just for simplicity, I always like to use the pattern. I like to use -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, um, and then see what the outcome is. Okay, and then I also like to graph it because visualizing it helps you better understand it. Okay, if I plug in -2 plus 2, it's going to be 0. If I plug in -1 plus 2 is 1. And if you have problems with negatives and positives, adding them, let me know and I'll help you. 0 plus 2 equals 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay, so y equals 4. I'm plugging the number right here for x. And as you can see, the x value does not get repeated, even though if I was to choose again 2, it's still going to be a 4, right? So it's still the same thing as this one. So basically, it's not a function. If let's say if I plug in a 2 again, and then instead of giving me a 4, it gives me a 5. Then I would know that it's not a function because 2 gets repeated and the output is different. Okay, then it's no longer a function. Okay, so that's the basic definition of a function. And then I'm gonna go over one-to-one, but later on. Okay, just to kind of like make sense of everything. So now the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and graph it. If you take your time and graph this, 0 and 2 is right here, right? -1 and +1 is right here, right? So it's going to be a line, right? If you graph all these buttons, okay? And now I'll explain why we need to graph it, okay? Because I want you to visualize it, okay? Because at the end, we're going to do a test to check to see if it's a function or a one-to-one, okay? And the test is going to help you. It's a line test that we do. Then we do the next one. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Plug in -2 times -2 squared is +4. -2 times -2 is 4. -1 times -1 is +1. 0 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1, right? 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. And there you go. So the x does not get repeated, but the y's do. Okay? So this is, yes, it is a function. Because even though if I enter another 2 or another 1, 1 squared is still going to give me 1, right? It doesn't change. The output does not change. Okay? But if I was to put a 1 and then it give me a 3, then it's not a function. Okay? That's how you know it's not a function. The x value gets repeated, but it gives you a different output. That's the trick. Okay? So both of these so far are a function. Yes, they are a function. Now this one, the arithmetic, the mathematics is on the y. So what I do, I put the -2, -1, 0, I put it on the y because I'm going to do the math here. So -2 times -2 is +4. So x equals 4. -1 times -1, x equals 1. 0 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 equals 1. 2 times 2 equals 4. And look at this. Every time I use 4 2 times, And every time the 4 was used, both times, they returned a different output. One is negative, one is positive. This is not a function because even though the x gets repeated, it returns a different output. Okay, and that's not a function. All right. So let me go ahead and draw both of these out because eventually this is going to help us. So this one is going to be a parabola. It's going to look like this if you graph it, if you take your time to graph it. It's going to look like this, and it has little arrows because it continues. This one on the other hand, it's going to look like this. 0 zeros right here in the middle. 4 x4. Say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go up 2 and down 2. Like that. So there's going to be 4 here, 1 here, and then another one over here. All right, and then 1 and 1 right here, 1 and positive 1, and then 1 and negative 1. And then it's going to be a parabola, but going sideways. Okay? And the reason why I want you to visualize it, like I said, it's going to help you later on, okay? It's very helpful to really understand how these graphs look like, okay? So functions, we do this thing called a vertical line test. Okay, and right now you're going to be like, well, Raymond, how am I going to remember that? How am I going to remember that we do this vertical line test? The reason that I remember is I remember two things. I remember functions or one-to-one because that's what was in my exam. They asked me, is it a function or is it a one-to-one? So one-to-one, if you look at these little lines right here, one-to-one, this is a vertical line test. Okay, so one is a vertical line test and the other one is horizontal. So how I would remember that it's horizontal because of these little lines. And then that gave me the hints. And so functions is a vertical line test. So check this out. I'm going to do a vertical line test on every one of these graphs. And if it touches multiple points on the equation, then it is not a function. Okay, so look at this. And I can draw as many lines as I want. If I do a vertical line test here, it only touches 1 point, touches it right here. If I do another one over here, it only touches 1 point, touches it right here on the equation. If I do it right here, it only touches 1 point right here, and so forth. This is, yes, it is a function because it only touches 1 point at any part of the graph. Same thing with this one. If I draw here, it only touches 1 point, touches it right here. If I do another one, it touches right here. It only touches one of the point on the line. It's right here. Same thing everywhere. Okay, it only touches 1 point. But look at this one. This one is not a function because if I do the vertical line test, look at what happens. If I do it here, it touches 4 2 times. If I do it here, it touches 1 2 times. And that's what we have here. Here it touches 2 times. And here it touches it 2 times. Okay? The only one that it doesn't do twice is 0. 0, it only touches it once. But every other point it does. So this is not a function. Okay? Cool. So another way to look at it, you already know, the x can only have one output. Okay? It's not a function if the x, let's say this one, has multiple outputs, has negative 0 and then 15. This is not a function. Okay? And then just to prove things, vertical line test. Here they did it green. Let me try to see if I can use green. So same thing. This is like the first one that we did is a function. A function, it touches the line only once. This one is not a function because if I was to draw a vertical line test, look, it touches every point. It touches it here, touches it here, touches it. This is not a function. It touches the line multiple times. This one, yes, it's a function. This one is not a function. Anywhere I draw it touches it multiple times. If I draw here, touches it 2 times. Here, 2 times. If I draw here, 2 times. Every single one, it touches it 2 times. Not a function. Okay? Same thing here. This is not a function. It touches it multiple times. All right? Same thing with the circle. This is a function that displays a circle, it's not a function. This one, yes, it is a function. It only touches it once. But the reason why I'm saying 1 to 1, I put on here 1 to 1 because it helps me remember which one is which. Okay, because you might be in the test and be like, oh shoot, I forgot which one is which. Is it vertical for 1 to 1 or vertical or horizontal for 1 to 1? The way I remember, like I said, this is what I use to trick, as a little trick to remember. 1 to 1 is horizontal, so therefore function is vertical. And then that's how you're able to see. If you graph it, you're able to check if it touches the line once. All right. So this is you can find more examples here on functions or not a function. And some of these graphs are gonna look weird, like right here, right? So like some of these are gonna be like this, and you do a vertical line test to see if it touches multiple points. But yeah, guys, that's basically it. If you have any questions, just let me know. Watch this video multiple times. If it doesn't make sense, let me know, and then we'll go ahead and go over it, okay? But I really hope this helped. All right? All right. Take care. Bye-bye.